be surprised how many people want to help you up, because they've been who you are, and there've been somebody that's maybe not helped them and they want to be that person. But I think we're so lucky in this era of podcasts that if I'm needing information off a really successful person who's done the walk, and just put a podcast on, listen to them. I think looking back then, I wasn't making much money in terms of, because I wasn't costing the jobs right and doing them right. But if I look back, I went, it's attention to detail. The guys look smart, the vehicles look smart, and if people would phone and be like, can you not stick that right in the rubber door? I went, well, they phoned me, so it must work. So I always do it now.
Before we dive into this episode, I want to ask you to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. It helps keep growing the channel and keep getting fantastic guests like this one. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
And I was thinking where to start this one. I want to go back to growing up in Bannockburn of all places. What was life like back then?
You caught me off guard there. Bannockburn, how to describe it? Great place, grew up there. The Bannockburn, yeah, basically it was great. Good childhood. Me and my cousins, we all grew up there. And
you all grew up really close knit, didn't you? I was hearing about this.
Yeah, so my granddad, my mum's dad, he was a roofer, and he used to have kind of like horses and different things. And back then, it's a poor man's sport, trotting horses. You could claim ground, and he left horses on there for 10 years and claimed the ground from the council. And he then got plan permission for like 200 houses. But part of that was he built all these for himself, a private house, and then all his kids, 5 kids, bought one of the dead ends of the road. He bought them all a house, 4 and 5 bedroom houses. He was really lucky. So me and all my cousins, we all grew up at the end of this dead end.
A proper clan.
Yeah, we thought that was normal. So like 18 of us would all walk to school together in the morning to school.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah, it was good. So
you had more than a rugby team then?
Yeah, we had more than a rugby team.
Yeah,
and,
subs.
Subs, and if anything went wrong, you always had a cousin there to back you up. So it was good. No, I really enjoyed it. Great childhood. Very lucky in terms of that, but quite a working class like family, like attitude and stuff like that, because we all kind of always knew we were drummed into us where we came from, and like my granddad worked really hard to get there. So yeah, it was good. Yeah,
before we hit record, we were chatting about your relationship with Sterling County and how important that was as a young guy growing up. When did you get into rugby?
I got into rugby when I was 7, 8 years old. Went down to the local rugby club, Sterling County, and yeah, so that's when I got into it and picked up rugby ball and loved it. Thought this was great. Different kids from different areas, and yeah, you get to.
County was a massive club, because I played junior rugby at West, and I would say in our area of Scotland, they were the 2 clubs with the biggest junior sections, and there was always a tournament on every Sunday. You would go all round, whether it was Mar or Ayr or County or wherever, and you would end up just playing wherever. Yeah,
it was great. No, it was good to all my best friends. There's 5 of us. We all met at Sterling County from different schools. You obviously know a few of them, and yeah, it was a great big catchment, Stirling. So lots of kids from different areas. So they've always got a big mini section. So yeah, I loved it. It was great.
As you were growing up, did you always think rugby was going to be the path you were going to go on like a serious level?
I think because I was limited in other areas academically, I thought this might be the only path I can go down. So no, I knew physically and different things that I had attributes that I could, if I applied myself, I could maybe make a go of this. But yeah, I suppose, I was thinking this the other day, I knew I'd get there or get amongst it. But yeah, no, it's something I always aimed for when I was a kid, and then obviously that starts to change as you get older.
As you age, of course.
But it definitely gave me everything that I've got now.
And rugby was a big part in you getting your scholarship to Loreto, because I think when I look at your story, Sinky, that's one of the big moments and the changes in the kind of path that you're on.
Huge. Loreto, where do you start? Bannockburn to Loreto. Bannockburn at the time was the bottom 5 state schools in Scotland. And then I was fighting every kind of lunchtime. That's just the normal. Every Friday night, just involved with different guys, and didn't know any better, because you are what you're around down there at the school. So yeah, that's what was happening. So, and then Loreto came along from they saw me at playing for your local regional stuff, and they offered me a scholarship. I didn't know who Loreto was. I used to slag my mates off. It went to Dollar because I thought they were posh, and then when I went to Loreto, they slagged me off. So it was really good. And then got there, chapel Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
A very different environment.
Oh, huge. But because I knew how lucky I was, and how different it was from my life at Bannockburn High. I grabbed it with two hands and was a sponge, and I wanted to make as many contacts as possible, and there's people, and I had an oligarch living in the room next door to me, son, stately owners, kids in the same dorm as me, but really well spoken, but good people, nice people, and it made me realise not to judge somebody just by the way they speak, because so that was really, really a good eye-opener.
That's really cool, and I think when you're appreciative of that opportunity, you try and make the most of it as well. And they've spotted you for your rugby talent, but I guess you're maybe benefiting from the network, getting to play rugby probably at a more serious level, because I went to state school, Bearsden Academy. Our rugby team was not renowned, but our club team at West was good. Yeah. In contrast, at Bannockburn, your state school rugby team probably wasn't great, but you were playing at county at a really good level, so it's very different.
Yeah, it was non-existent really. There was no rugby really there. It was all football and boxing. So it wasn't really it's not rugby. It's a working class village part of Sterling. So
you wonder how many good players would be unlocked if we got rugby into those schools, though.
I think it's actually a high rate. So the guys that have played rugby have went on to be like first team players at Stirling and internationals. So like
untapped potential.
You've got aggressive kids who are physical, and it's like I think the same in Glasgow. So it's an untapped whole area. That's what I've just invested with guys doing stuff in Glasgow for rugby kids, because I think that they're missing such a pool of players, that the ones you want really, because I put some support into Ratlock Primary. They're not doing any rugby. It was classified as a rough area at Stirling, and the kids are saying like, "Well, I get to hit that guy legally as many times." I said, "You can do that again and again and again if you want." They're like, "This is great."
And they just need the kit, because I think I saw it was a container you put down there, wasn't it, full of jerseys and
kit with just all the basics and rugby stuff. Yeah. So yeah, just to give them just at least the opportunity to get to try and play it, because if 20 try it, maybe 5 or 6 of them might go down, and you never know that out of that 5 or 6, one of them might be that girl or boy might be like a rugby player, or that might just put their life in a different direction, you know?
And as you've shown, the network effect of rugby's amazing. There's still loads of people that I talk to from my rugby days, and I was not a particularly serious player. I was a club level player up until I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
And I've still got loads of friends that do really cool stuff, and many people message me on LinkedIn that I played with back in the day, being like, "Oh, I listened to that podcast," and I never realised that they were even listening, but they were just out there in the background. Yeah,
exactly. And it doesn't matter what level you play at. I think as long as you're playing, you're part of the club, and you'll meet people, and it's not all about being a professional rugby player. And I think you build contacts and people you know, and like the amount of times I do like business stuff. Would you know that guy? He played for them. Oh yeah, I know him. I played against him, or vice versa.
Small world.
Yeah, it's good though, and it doesn't matter who you are, because if you say, "Oh, I play rugby," you know they've kind of got some values of some sort, or they won't want to let you down because you know you're there. So it's look, it's been really good to me, but I think all sports are good and for discipline, you know.
Absolutely. But you went all the way and you turned pro after school. What was the pathway to that?
At Loreto, I went. The coach was there, South African, and his friend was over South Africa. They then sent me to Western Province. I didn't know what Western Province was, but people now know it's the biggest South African factory of rugby players. So you're in amongst all these guys. You show up. I've never been further than Mallorca, so to go all the way to Cape Town, and then that was great. And then I was meant to stay there for a year more. I wish I did, and then I signed for Perpignan in 4 years, but there was a couple of different clubs at the time wanting me to go, and then
always over in France. Were they watching the people in South Africa trying to like bring them back then?
Yeah, I'd been playing an under-20 World Cup a year early, and they saw me in one of the games, and then I actually thought it was something. I seen this. Some of the boys were phoning the hotel, take the mickey
with a dodgy French accent.
Yeah, the Joey Barton accent at the time. I just kept hanging up on them a bit. There was 3 or 4 teams that were wanting from France that wanted to sign me, and went there, and I chose one, and then I left and packed my bags and went straight to to France, and yeah, it was great. It's another, like, all in the space of 4 years, 5 years, going from
Life was moving quick.
Yeah, from Bannockburn to Cape Town to the south of France, and not knowing any French. I do now, thankfully, but yeah, I look back now and think, wow, but you're just going with it at the time. You just, that's what it is. So no, but I look back at how lucky I was, and that really shaped me. Like, Bannockburn to Loreto, Cape Town, and then into France. You always think, people say your younger years is what shapes you in terms of like how good a learning experience was that, you know?
Of course. And how do you reflect on your time in pro rugby? Because if I look at your career, it's almost a little bit of untapped potential finishing up at 23 when I look at maybe what you could have done.
Self-inflicted, really, isn't it? I always tell people, I'm quite honest with it. Yeah, I was saying, so I had so many opportunities, like Ugo Mola, who's now the Toulouse head coach. He actually came and took me from Perpignan to Albi, and he's now one of the best coaches and club coaches in the world. And yeah, Andy Robinson at Bristol, and all these, but they all said the same thing to me: if you don't, the only person that's stopping you is you, and if you don't go and play like regular top 14 or go on to do more, it's your fault. And I always thought at the time that was kind of funny, but these guys don't know each other and they say the same thing. But look, hindsight's good, and I didn't, and I had every opportunity, but I didn't take those opportunities. And if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am now in business, because I really learned from it. And who's to say, maybe I wouldn't have been any better, like, because the guys that did go on, all my friends who are international players, they did the hard yards at the time. I didn't. I could have, but
what do you think was missing, Sinky? What was limiting you?
I don't know. I just, maybe, it's hard to tell. Maybe I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. Like, this kid from Bannockburn, like, I'm in South Africa, I'm in France. Why has it happened to me? Like, I was doing everything, like, self-sabotage, not to they're out.
I've learned a lot about that on the podcast from different guests, because when you don't feel like it's merited, it doesn't stick as much. So guys that have maybe made millions in crypto or drop shipping, they spend the money much quicker because they don't feel like they've maybe gone through the hard graft to earn it, because the numbers on the screen just suddenly go boom. And for you, and I believe you definitely worked hard in your young days, but when you maybe end up in a situation, it doesn't quite feel like you belong. The mind and the body will do funny things.
Yeah, just off being like a 19, 20-year-old, and you're getting, it wasn't mega money, but on good money, cars and apartments and stuff like that, and you're just off spending it all and making bad decisions. And but I wouldn't change it, because I think you really learn from your mistakes. And people probably been harsh myself, but yeah, I did have a really good time, 5-6 years at it, and some amazing places that people never got to live, and mega players to play alongside at a young age. But yeah, I don't regret it too much, because it changed my focus. That's what changed my focus into what I'm doing now.
Of course. How quickly then did you change focus to removals? Were you still playing when you were starting to experiment with the idea of it?
Yeah, so no experience in removals, zero. I was playing at Sterling County when I came back, my home club, and that's when I bought the first van, and bought all that, signaged and everything, and then I was left with a couple £1,000 in the bank account.
What were the startup costs to get yourself a van and everything kitted out?
From 20,000, I bought a van at 14, signage like 1,000 or 800, and this kit, my flyers, that's probably about £17,000. All in for everything. You've got your insurances, these things you don't know about. So when you're looking at the bank account, there's not much left there. At the time, you're thinking, right, I better
it's time to go to work.
And chap some doors, because nobody's going to make it happen bar you. You've got nobody to look at. There's no guys in the change rooms to kind of hold you up. There's no coaches to blame or say you're not here or there because of there. It's all on you now. Let's see what you're made of. And there's no, people say look in the mirror. I had to physically look in the mirror, and just go, right, no one's doing it apart from you. So then just went out and kept going at it,
What did going at it look like? Because I know nowadays you're really well versed in SEO and you're online and you're clever when it comes to that stuff. But in those early days, you printed a load of flyers off. What does it look like to get your first few jobs?
Give me any job you can. Don't know how to price them. Went to a local print shop and got some edited images put onto like an A4 flyer, wrapped out, and then I just went. But early on, actually, to be fair to myself, I did realise that there's for sale signs, so they must be moving. Go and right move, look at all the for sale houses, make a wee route on pen and paper, and I just went out all day, knock, here you go, nice to meet you, or put it in the door. And I actually came out this thing as well when I was putting cards in people's doors. Instead of putting them through the doors, and then that's where the rubbish is. That's your pizza stuff, that's your advertising. People just go, that's my mail, that's the rubbish there. I'd start slipping them. So you've got the rubber of somebody's front door, and then I'd stick it in the rubber of the front door, so they'd have to physically pull it out their house when they get home, and then they'd hold on to it and go, right, I actually need that when they get into the house. So I did that, and people would phone and be like, can you not stick that right in the rubber of my door? I went, well, they phoned me, so it must work. So I always do it now. For my guys that are out and they're out doing my surveyors, they say, I said, don't put it through the door, stick it in the rubber of the door. So then they have to physically pull it out and look at it. And
it's
then,
like you put a better title in the email, so the open rate was higher. You put a better lettering on the door, so they were able to open it.
Yeah, so wee things like that, and that's how that's business. You start finding your way, and you can see me starting to kind of get ramped up. 'Cause I really enjoy it, and enjoy learning. I was like, this is what it's about: speaking to people and learning everything, being a sponge, asking that guy, how'd you do that, and whatnot, and.
Did you have any mentors in the space that you could maybe learn from about how to run the removals, how to grow it?
None. Didn't know anybody. Nobody. I did it all off back at a fag packet, to be honest. Looked up different things. But what I actually did early on was looked at other businesses and thought the removal business hasn't changed in over 100 years, the way they do things. So I actually asked other guys on how they do and how they think. And I remember asking for a meeting with a guy, Robert Graham, that owns Graham's Dairies. And when I bought, like 2 months after I bought the first van, I went in and he thought I was in asking about doing transport or something. And I remember saying to him, I says, if dairy farms kind of on its hands and knees in different ways, but you've managed to innovate on how you do things, if I could implement what you do in the dairy world into my removals, the way I start doing things, the mindset, then I could do really well. And he says, I don't think he expected that. And because I watched the way he done things with different products, and he got lots of dairy brands under him, so he had the volume to then supply to bigger chain. I thought, he's doing something different. I need to think like that. So straight away I was thinking, right, how can I do things different? So
finding role models to join those gaps is so helpful. And you've never been shy of reaching out to some of the big hitters either. I think that's one of the big parts of your story that maybe people don't know. The number of people that you've reached out with for a coffee or a chat to pick their brain, but you haven't just picked their brain, used this phrase already. You've been like a sponge. You've been like, tell me that information. Right, now let me go and do it.
Yeah. So there's a guy, Matt Purdy, used to him Purdy's Removals. He was doing quite really well, and he sold them, but he would tell me stuff like change your branding. SSR, what is that? SSR, what, can't remember. Sterling Sinclair sounds nice. Went, right, okay, do that. Went, okay, so I phoned him 3 weeks later. Yeah, I've just changed the whole livery, all 20 vehicles are done. He went, what? I went, yeah, I've done it. He said, so I just, because he was right, I did, it's more clear, it's less foggy, so I'll just go and do things. And there's lots of business guys that people might not know. I'll phone them, right, what do you think about this, and just generally ask their opinion. And I saw there's some really good guys from Sterling and who've done really well, and asked them questions and how they've done things, and just taking a bit from everyone. I think it's the big thing. So everybody's story won't suit you because they've done their story to suit them and they've built it that way. But if I can take a wee bit, say from you, Colin, or for someone else, and I can implement that and make that into what I need, then you should come out better,
Yeah, absolutely. We were chatting about like how valuable podcasts are nowadays, and you're listening to lots of them. And I find that the same whenever I speak to listeners and they say, oh, I listened to such and such and I took this away, and I listened to such and such and took this away. I'm like, great, you only need to take one thing from every episode you listen to. And if you listen to one a week or one a day, you're going to quite quickly accumulate stuff that can really move your trajectory in the right direction.
Oh, but I think we're so lucky in this era of podcasts that if I'm needing information off a really successful person who's done it and done the walk, you can just put a podcast on and listen to them, what they've done, and you can dodge the mistakes that they've made, because they're basically giving you the playbook to say, look, like, this is what to do. But if you've not got, I think about ego as well, saying if you can put your hand up and go, look, I don't know, and which I'm good at, and say, well, he does, and do what he says and what he's done, and then follow that, you're going to get better. And you've got all this information at your fingertips, podcasts, guys doing everything constantly. When I'm driving, I'm in bed at night, I'm falling asleep, we're talking about this, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm falling asleep at night. I don't know if much of it's going in, but it's
the subconscious is soaking it in. Yeah,
I like soaking it up. I was out scanning sheep yesterday, and I had the podcast, a storage podcast and storage update, so I'm dozing sheep in the mouth and got the latest way on self-storage, you know.
Yeah, it's a cheesy time management phrase that I got taught by a lady called Dr. Cassie Holmes. It's called bundling. You're doing two things at once. So the time's going to pass when you're doing the sheep anyway, or when you're doing the dishes in the house, or when you're out a walk. You might as well use the time to level up if you can.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'm subconsciously doing it now without realising. I'm finding a podcast, obviously Spotify will show you your top ones you listen to. If it's Diary of a CEO, I'm listening to a few of your things that are really, really good. Self-storage podcasts, I listen to an agriculture one but I've constantly got, I like learning, and then I've not realised I've done that, but now speaking to you, I enjoy it.
You're benefiting from it. And there's again another phrase that I use in the podcast is we can stand on the shoulders of giants. And that's exactly what you described there. Somebody's going to share the playbook, and we can maybe leverage their experience to get to where we want to get to.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's got their different objectives and what they want to do. But you can you're just taking the information, moulding it into what you need and how you want it and how it's going to benefit you. And I've really found that listening to these things and reaching out to people and save you lots of time, you know, and lots of guys and women out there who have been there and walked the walk, they're happy to share with you. You think they're not, and they're scary and they don't want to speak to you. If you're a young guy or woman coming up in business and doing things, you'd be surprised how many people want to help you up, because they've been who you are, and there've been somebody that's maybe not helped them, and they want to be that person to do that.
It gives a hand up, and I think if you look at some of the coffee meetings that you've had, people would be very surprised at who was willing to take 15, 20, 30 minutes out of their diary and give you a hand. Yeah,
exactly. And like good people and people that have just been there and done it, you know, and they've loved it. And I remember speaking to guys, and one of the first big investors in Skyscanner, and great. I speak to him every second week, and some of his chatting stories are great, and you're thinking, like,
you can't believe you're getting access to it almost.
Yeah, just phone him and we get along, and he's great, good chat, and we're kind of working on something just now for the last I'll speak about another time, but it's just a different world, and learn how that all started.
Open up, don't they?
Yeah, it's amazing how they started the Skyscanner, these guys, and they were just the wee guys in a room, and like everybody, you know, and gave it a go, and I love that, you know.
Absolutely. A phrase that I think is synonymous with some of your LinkedIn content and some of the stories you've been sharing is fake it till you make it, Sinky.
Yeah.
What did that look like in those early days?
Oh, fake it till you make it. That when you've not got the vehicles that you say you've got at the time, go and get Arnold Clark vans and taking the branding off them.
Tell us a little bit about that story then. Why did you need to do it for starters, I guess?
I think I'd sold somebody a package, and this is what we're going to do for you. And I went, right, now, they've got a 6-bedroom house, I've got 1 van, and I'm going to need 4. Right, so to be fair, I went, right, I've got the vehicles, can do it, I've got the payment. I went and got the vehicles, took them off, went to the brand stickers guy, put them all on, and I turned up, done the job, happy, 5-star review. They didn't know, but that's what I had to do. Like, I didn't have all the vehicles to. When you start off in business, you don't have 10 trucks. You have that 1 truck, but you don't want to turn away the business. But then I realised that's what I have to get to, and now I've got multiple vans and trucks that you think, well, but that was the fun part, you know. You just got to fake it. And
yeah, I was laughing because it was whipping the Arnold Clark stickers off, putting the SSR on, and turning up, and the whole fake it till you make it. You look the part. Yeah, and that's very important.
All branded. My guys are all rugby boys who are part time. All branded polos and shorts and tops. I bought them all, so they actually looked a lot better than your established companies. They were all kitted out, looked apart. And I think looking back then, I wasn't making much money in terms of, because I wasn't costing my jobs right and doing them right. But if I look back, I went, it was attention to detail. My guys look smart, the vehicles look smart, like everything we'd done, it was attention to detail. So you're building, and they referred us on to 6 people, 7 people. So then you get in business,
Momentum's a hell of a drug. I always say this.
Yeah.
So in my sales role away from the podcast, I'm a big believer, if I do a good job for somebody once, that can have a ripple effect to their network. It's like the pebble goes in the water and it ripples out.
Oh.
So you've done that job for somebody with a 6-bedroom house. He's probably got friends with 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 6-bedroom houses as well.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, this Adam boy, he was great. Turned up with a brand new set of vans, all clean. The boys were in good spirits. They did the job well. Nothing broke. We're really happy."
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. And going back to momentum, I was talking about this the other day. It's like sport. Like in a game, like the rugby weekend, the team that's got the momentum, the calls are going to go their way. Same as sport, when you've got momentum, everybody wants a piece of you. What you're doing this, everything's happening for you because you've got the momentum, it's going your way. It's the same in business. And I feel that I would just pay for you to call me once a day to get a call. And now the phones don't stop for the offices, for the removals, because you've got that momentum. But you've got to keep that momentum going. And I know I'm getting more opportunities. This won't last forever, so I'm just going with it. And then, like, it's huge, so you've got to obviously be careful, but momentum's a big thing, especially in business as well.
In those early days, you want proof of concept. This works. I can win the job. I can make it happen. I can fulfill it. Maybe I've not priced it perfectly, but I can learn from that aspect of it as long as the rest of it runs smoothly. Yeah,
exactly. And you're teaching yourself, and you're proving to yourself that this you can do this part. And it's like, that was pretty hard. That was pretty tough. 'Cause I remember like getting up at 6 a.m. doing kitchen deliveries.
Let's talk about that, because people don't really understand how you scaled so quickly, I guess, because you were doing this stuff outside of removals hours.
Yeah,
what was happening there?
You obviously do your removals and like 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock, but I managed to get a kitchen contract, deliver kitchens, going up 5 floors before they put the lifts in for new builds. So we're talking about when we came here, like just go and deliver that in the morning, get 200 quid, or what the delivery fee was, 250 quid. I was taking up fridges myself, but I had that drive. Like I knew I'd get that money, and I knew what that money was going to be going towards, and then going to removals after. So I'm making maybe like £1,000 a week on kitchen stuff before I'd done my removals, but I still had to get up early and do that. And then,
because removals you can't do till 9, but the kitchens were 6 a.m. or whatever, so you were able to start to use the van that you've got and your labour and your time, which is probably the most valuable asset you can give at that point in time, to building up capital.
Yeah, to build that capital. And I thought I could have went and bought fancy watches or a fancy holiday or do something and blow that capital. But I thought, right, van number 2 equals X, van number 3 equals X, and keep reinvesting it. Right, I've got enough money for a deposit for a yard now, going there. Then I bought enough up to buy my first yard, and now I've got 8 acres of industrial yards and storage, and like, it's mental to think, but it's so simple. Just put it back in. I listen to Warren Buffett, these guys who are mega guys, and they say the same thing. It's just put it back in, keep growing it.
Feed the machine.
Yeah, feed it, and then, but obviously, got to be smart about it, but just keep growing it, and then you're going to get more in return. And if you keep your lifestyle to minimum, you obviously got to treat yourself and do nice things, but like, I wouldn't be able to have the things I've got now, like my small farm and things, if it wasn't for reinvesting and have that luxury and do that. And I'm still reinvesting now, and like, I do a thing with my bank, whereas like, I've got the money that comes in, but I clear any profits out of it, out of sight, and I work with the same amount as I did at the beginning in the current account, so then that's all I can see. So then it puts me under that little bit of pressure. I don't know if I've told anybody about that actually, but I do that for a mindset thing. I put the rest of the money out, it's in a buffer, and I work with the same amount of money in the current account. So it's kind of keeping me on my toes.
Psychologically, it keeps you on your toes. I think that's really, really interesting. And the kitchens was one thing that I learnt about, but I also learnt that you had the Christmas tree side hustle as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the Christmas trees. Are you still finding pine needles, I hear?
Yeah. If I still find, I actually really enjoyed it. And it's the best business I've ever done. So when people talk to me about Christmas trees, and so I got the opportunity some land down in I know of, and they do Christmas trees, and I managed to pay a guy, can you buy them off site, do these things and per pallet, and I'd buy them at £5 per tree, but it was on gross purchase, and then I'd sell them at £10 a foot. That's the rule of thumb. That's my Christmas tree knowledge coming in there. And the rule of thumb is £10 per foot, 6 foot tree, 60 quid, 7 foot tree, 70 quid. And then what I was doing is my guys were on the deliveries. I'd put a Facebook page ad out, and then people don't have cars big enough. Some people don't have any cars, let alone put a Christmas tree in it. So we'd deliver your Christmas tree on the way to a job, and then there's 70 quid. And maybe do 2 or 3 each day, and then something by the end of the week, like £2,000 or £3,000. And I was just like, I was just putting that away. And I bought another couple of vans off like the back of it, and so then it was just growing the business. And I was thinking, what other things can I do? So I was looking for other opportunities to grow, without going to take on debt, So
that's something I've heard you speak about before. That was like a cultural thing in the family. You were encouraged not to try and get too many loans.
Don't get me wrong. If you want to get to a certain size, you've got to take on some debt, and you've got to get a mortgage on ground. Not everybody can just have hundreds of thousands of pounds. That's not reality. But I think especially at the start, it's important, because all the revenue you're getting, you don't want to be feeding it back to the tax man in the bank. You want to actually have enough there to grow. So I was always brought up to kind of like always have a wee bit away for a rainy day, or a buffer, I always call it. And and watching my other granddad, both granddads really massive. One's a farmer as well down the borders. Like, he was 63 and he had 1,400 sheep and lamb, and he'd lamb them himself. And then when he finished his lambing, he would contracted to the farm up the road for extra money, because he was doing it for extra money as well. He'd finish his lambing at night at 2 a.m. and go to the other guy's shed and do his lambing. And every year my gran would put an extra 2 holes in his belt, because you'd lose about 10 kilos during lambing time, just from
the activity's so high.
No sleep, no activity so high. But he didn't know any better. That's what he did. He did what you had to do to get by and get to where you wanted to. He didn't have podcasts and listen to other guys. And watching that, like Monkey See, Monkey Does, like, that's what I was watching. I was going down for 2 weeks during lambing, and that's what this is what he did. That's what he did. He did what he had to do. And I think that served really well for me as well, seeing him doing that and working really hard. And he started off as a shepherd, and he bought his own farm from working those long hours, and he ended up with hundreds of acres and his own farm and a well-known name in the pedigree sheep world. But that's what he had to do. He worked hard to get it. Sometimes that's what...
There's the whole work smart, not hard, but when you combine the two of them, it's pretty deadly.
I think so. I think if you get somebody with that right combination, there's no really stopping them. They're going to run through walls to get to where they want, and I know some really smart guys, but they're so smart that they're it's not for me. There's some guys that work really hard, but they don't have the right direction. But when you get that combination, it's some people can do some special things, I think.
One of the things I want to ask you about when it comes to being smart and fake it till you make it is how you managed to get yourself a nice Mercedes for your going out to quotes in your jobs.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I can.
We're not going to get you in trouble.
No, I'm fine now. So obviously I was come back playing at Sterling County, and the Edinburgh rugby team were getting sponsored by Mercedes, and my friend was at the time, he was playing for them. He said, "Look, I just go in, you just give them their contract, and they give you a car." And I thought, this is me thinking out the box again. I thought, I've got a contract with Sterling County actually. I'll just change the logo, keep the wording the same, see if they say anything. So I gave it to the woman. She went, "Oh yeah, thanks. You playing this weekend?" I went, "No, injured." And she went, "What car do you want?" I went, "That one." It was like a A-class sport. Like, I had like white leather, and it didn't even need it white leather because I had a big black Newfoundland dog that used to sit in the back. And she went, "Yeah, just pick it up on Wednesday." This was the Monday. I went in, big bow and everything on it. She went, "There you go, drive away, took the keys."
Discounted rate for a nice Merc.
150 quid a month.
For an A-class.
Yeah,
very good.
I know. Rolling in it, mate.
But you were able to turn up to jobs with a nice car.
I got it branded.
And it was, did you?
Got it branded.
Of course you did.
Got it branded.
The stickers were on.
Sterling Sinclair all over it, branded, nice. Nobody asked the question. But yeah. Yeah, and people, it looked smart, looked good, you know, and I had it for a year, and it looked the right thing.
Presentation matters. The package it all comes in.
Yeah.
So how you conduct yourself and how you're viewed by people has a big impact from the first impression through to when you quote for the deal, when you close the deal, when your guys turn up in their uniform, and when they do the job. Yeah,
100%. Like all my men wear the exact same as me. In the office, all the surveyors, the managers, they wear nice Sheelys, they wear the same shirts as me, they wear the same chinos. It's not trying to be like there, but it's like I'm wearing it, it's good clothes, it's nice stuff. I want them to look smart. So when they go to, they're going to your mum's house to quote it, the first impressions, you've got 10 seconds, you make your mind up, you go, oh, they look smart, they look good, presentable, I want them in my home, you know, so I think that's very important.
It is a personal thing. People maybe don't consider that, but somebody is coming into your private space.
Yeah, exactly, and you don't know it until you wouldn't say it until you've experienced it and you go, right, people are touching my stuff, everybody's completely different. Like I've got guys that will do like bring hanging boxes out to a customer, and they'll go, yeah, I need them because I don't want my clothes crushed. And then the next person who might have more money will say, no, just put it in black bags. Everyone's different. So you're
catering for both, aren't you?
You're dealing with people in their most personal space, you know. So yeah, look, that's different. But
speaking of dealing with people, Adam, you deal with the customers who maybe have a 6-bed house, and then you're dealing with your staff that are hands on the tools, rough and ready to go. How do you maybe conduct yourself differently across the different people you deal with?
I think that's when the Bannock Bun and Loretto boy comes out, and it's true form.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, big time. You go to workies, they're guys. You know, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They're only human. That's what they'll do. So I come down them quite hard. But I'll just come to the yard, right, lads. Like I'll just meet them at their level, and then suddenly you're in the Grange in Edinburgh, one of the most expensive places. You're moving people's houses. You're dealing with such and such, and you're like, yeah, good morning, how are you today? Blah blah.
A wee bit more prim and proper.
Yeah, but you just got to do it. You've got to adjust and make everybody. So I'm making my guys feel comfortable because I'm meeting them at that level, and then I'm meeting people at that level as well, you know. And it's everyone feels more relaxed and there. But I'm not doing anything. I went to Bannockburn, like I know that's what I was brought up with, and then I went to Loretto. I'm not dealing. So having those two worlds really prepared you to kind of, for me personally anyway, to be able to up and down yourself.
Yeah, one of the principles I teach to business owners and sales guys in my sales coaching is horses for courses.
Yeah.
So some horses run better on firm ground, some on the more sticky stuff. And that means that when you turn up to a customer, you must bring that level to them. So for example, if they need to be more prim and proper, then you're going to dress differently, you're going to carry yourself a little bit differently, you're going to mind your P's and Q's, you're not going to drop an F-bomb. Whereas when you go to the guys, you need to be a wee bit firmer, you need to have that side to you that they respect. So in the same way for a customer, like I've dealt with people that have maybe been the head of procurement or the head of estates at the University of St Andrews, the University of Edinburgh. So best believe I'm turning up in a suit and I'm going to be very polite. But then I've dealt with a landlord who's got 2 or 3 HMO properties that are his investments, and he's just wanting the best price, and he's going to F and blind if the furniture's going to be late. So I need to adjust how I meet those people and how I carry myself to get the best possible result for both of us.
Yeah, exactly. And that second guy might go right off you if you come up in the suit and stuff like that, and he'll think, who's this guy? And if you speak to the guy at St Andrews doing there, they'll vice versa. You've got to meet them at where they are. And I believe that, look, let them speak for the first couple of minutes, and then you can adjust yourself to them rather than you going and speaking and they're just formed an opinion of you being like, oh, who's this guy? Or who's this girl? Like, let them speak for a couple of minutes. Kind of judge the room, know where you're at, and then meet them where they're at.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. One of the things you do with your staff is inspired by the Navy SEALs. You call it Hell Week.
Yeah.
How would you describe that first week for the guys?
If I'm not sure about someone, well, it's now my guy, my right-hand man, Ross, he runs the guys, but they'll put them on a really tough job. 5-6 flights of stairs. And then if you're running up and down there with 100 boxes, you'll soon see who's got it or not got it. And then if they throw the towel in, You go, right, that's fine. But then you're not wasting your time for another 2 weeks and you could add somebody else in. Because I think I was saying to you that I'm growing my business. I'm not, if I bring in somebody, they don't want to do this and don't want to do that, well, that's fine. You can go and do that somewhere else, but I know where I need to go to and you're not going to slow me down. So I've had guys with me from the very start, and then that keeps them happy because they've got good guys to work with. Because if I brought in guys that were half useless and not doing everything they should do, then
it takes one bad apple sometimes.
Oh, I've had them, and it rottens the whole lot, you know. And as soon as you pull them out of there, it's there. I was at actually a removals meeting not long ago, and people were talking about, we can't have our guys walking past 5 o'clock on HEVs and stuff like that because people are different these days. Well, you're running a removals business. The keys might get delayed. You're supplying a service to someone that needs to be in their house that day. They've got 3 kids. They knew what they're signing up to. If they don't want to do that, then don't have them. But what the thing is, people are lazy these days. They don't want to then rehire somebody. They don't want to go through that pain of having to do interviews and rehire people.
The onboarding process. Yeah.
It's easier just to leave it and appease them. Whereas I'm like, no, look, that's fine. Next. And I've got this saying with my mate who runs it, Ross, who runs it. And says, we just say next. Don't want to do it. It's fine. Somebody else will. And we'll get next, and then we'll keep building the business.
Is staff one of the hardest parts of what you do?
Oh, easily, yeah. It's a hard job, isn't it? You know, it's removals. Self-storage, you don't really need anybody, but removals, it's any business. It's difficult, you know, for staff these days, you know. So, and it's what probably gets people down the most. You keep people that get burnt out. They probably get burnt out from the staff element, because you're giving it 110%, but they're never going to give it the same as what you're going to give it. So it's trying to separate the two, you know. So yeah, staff is
it's a challenge,
big time. Yeah.
How often do you end up on the tools still?
Not often. I put my digicard in for one of the lorries in last week, and it said last active last October. So that kind of shows.
It's been a wee while,
but I actually enjoy it. When I do go out, I went to drop some lorries off a couple of weeks ago, and a guy that was ill, and I enjoyed it. Speaking to the customer, how you doing? Blah blah. Didn't tell her that I owned the business. We use this company. This another company I purchased 30 years ago. She said, and that's great. Well, see you later. I hope you enjoy your home. That interaction with the customer, I enjoy it because day to day now is Excel
it's
sheets,
running the business,
insurances, making sure the business is coming in. I like doing acquisitions. I'm constantly looking for land, doing different things. So you're on your own. I'm on my own. My office is my car. I'm popping from depot to depot. Lucky to do it, but it's a wee bit lonely, isn't it? But so when you're going out to see different things in the jobs, it's quite fun.
It's a bit novel and a bit of fun again, and it kind of reminds you where you started.
Yeah, I'm really big on remembering where you come from and never forgetting that, because I don't want to be that person that gets too ahead of themselves or thinks they've made it or anything like that, because I'm far from it. And some people say, oh no, you have done really well, but I'm miles from where I want to be yet.
Yeah, you mentioned acquisitions. That's a big part of your story. When did you first get interested in that space and start to buy up other people?
When I saw an opportunity with the baby boomers, you know, in their 60s and 70s now, for all these businesses, and there's obviously like a format of the way people say it now. It's like obviously a business expression, like baby boomers. We're buying up baby boomer businesses. That wasn't the thing. I was like, well, he's old, he's retiring. What's he going to do with that business, you know? So I thought, right, this guy's retiring. He has that area. He's been in there for 40 years. How can I don't have all the funds. What can I do to get that business? He said, look, give me so much a lead at the start, buy my trucks over a period. I came up with a deal that suited him, that I could afford in a period. And I thought, right, that's a good way of doing it. And now I have that area. And I did it with another area. Now I've got 5 removal companies, and it's like,
you've expanded really quick, and I think it's really impressive to watch. And as you say, there's a terminology for it now because you understand, like on my show, Daniel Priestley and Jeremy Harbour have both talked about how much of a market there's going to be for people who come to the end of their working life and they want a solution that moves the business on. Whereas in your early days, you're like, he's getting old, that's not going to be there forever, I want my hands on that. But now you've got a name for the strategy. Yeah. It's easier to, like, we all need the labels, don't we, to understand stuff.
Now, that label means what I've just said in simple format, but yeah, I think there's a big opportunity out there for people, for all businesses now, because they're not quite big enough for a fund company to buy. They're a bit expensive for somebody to buy starting off. So if you're in that middle and you're on your growth way, and you can come up with a package to say to them, look, right, if it's a gym and they're coming to the end of a lease or something like that, they've got a name though, they've got clients. You could say to them, look, I'll take the name, buy the name for so much, I'll give you this over a period of time, or a share of the net profits over a period of time. That's better to someone than just shutting the doors and saying, right, business is done.
Yeah, there's a legacy thing that comes with it, and I learned from you that you don't always necessarily rebrand them as Sterling Sinclair. You often keep the name of the brand that you've bought when they're trading with it.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think it's a bit of honesty. I think if you put your things your name, it's a lot of time it's because of ego. You want to see your name there. Whereas, look, you see a name there for 50 years, use it. That's the reason you're buying it. People know that name. Like, I think someone's granny or auntie might not know my business name, but they know that name. But then that name will then feed through to that business, So I've got Letford, Glen Transport, Britannia, Edinburgh, who else? Labert Carriers. They're still feeding through to Sterling Sinclair, but people know those brands, So like it's so why wouldn't you use that? I think that's important. And when I did my self-storage sites as well, I named them the name of the towns, So it's easier. Obviously for SEO, you'll know about that. So
Yeah, well, exactly that. And I think that's, again, like an underrated part of what you've done, because there is the ego that says, I can just make SSR bigger and bigger and bigger by adding all these brands in. But if I keep their name, then I get the legacy and the history and the emotional attachment that their customer base have.
Yeah.
Because if you, like, for example, with Larbert, they've never heard of SSR in that area.
No.
But they've heard of Larbert Carriers or whatever the term is, and they'll still be googling that, or they'll still be phoning that, or they'll still see the vans that say that on it.
Yeah, they see it on it, and obviously Sterling Sinclair's grown and grown the vehicles and stuff, and then there's more Sterling Sinclair vehicle will turn up at the house to do the job because they're part of the same group, but because they're growing. But I think it's important to keep those names. That's my opinion, though. Somebody's opinion might be different on brand strategy, because I'm doing brand strategies now with a business, and like someone's opinions might be different to mine, depending on the business they're in.
But from your experience, I think in removals, and I've heard you write about this before on LinkedIn, or seen you write about this before on LinkedIn, there's an emotional attachment to somebody came into my house and moved me into this house, or removed my stuff from this house. I want them to do it for another house. And if the brand's changed, then you lose that straight away.
Yeah, they'll be like, I moved in here 40 years ago, they had those good memories of their kids and their husband, and that was their memories they have of that new company moving them in. That husband might be passed away now, and the kids have flown the nest, and they want that same business to then downsize them, So that's sentimental, and it's nice to be part of that, So,
given all the acquisitions you've had, how do you stay abreast of what's happening day to day across all of them?
My phone constantly going, so I'll check in with all the different people in different businesses. I'm very in, which it's not going to last forever because it's just going to get too big, but I'm very in each business every day. Phone them, what's going on, what can I do, what do you need more containers for that site, what do you need for that vehicle, okay, you missed that survey. Like yesterday I went and did 3 surveys. The guy said, I need to cancel them till Wednesday. I was like, no, I'll be there, I'll go and do them. I said, book me in for those 3 surveys, and jobs were booked in. Because in my head I thought, those could be lost, could get someone else in, the survey, and then it's a waste. Paid for the Google ads, different things.
The lead's a lead.
Lead's a lead. I'm not going to lose that lead. So, and I think if your guys, your surveyors that are working for you, see you doing that, they're going to go, wait a minute, he's not just sitting behind waiting, pointing, you do this, do that. He's in there, sleeves up, doing the survey. I was on the forklift the other week there because they needed a box down. They said, we'll delay it to the next day. And I was like, no, we're delaying it. I said, I'll jump on the forklift, I'll get the crate out.
So you do end up in the tools sometimes, but not as often as you
they'd probably rather me not be there. But if it means delaying something by a day and I'm there or thereabouts, I think so many things can be solved from a phone call rather than 10 emails. And it's the same in business. If you can jump on that forklift and solve that right there and then, get on that forklift.
Urgency is a great trait, and I would say across the almost 300 odd guests that I've had on the podcast now, amongst many of the successful ones, is a tendency for action first.
Yeah.
And for you there, it's like, how can I just get this done to make sure the customer gets the best possible outcome? It's maybe not ideal that somebody that could, like you, that could be doing something of a higher leverage is having to jump in the forklift or having to jump in the van or having to do the survey. But for now, for today, that's the action I'm going to take, and that's what's going to make the boat go faster right now.
Yeah, completely right. And I always say, why tomorrow, not today? You know, like people say, I can do that tomorrow, or I can do that tomorrow, I'll do that next week. Why not today? Why not just do it? What are you doing? If you've got the time, why not today?
The whole 2-minute rule. If there's dishes lying there, it's going to take 2 minutes to dry them. Just dry them now, and then it's done. It removes the mental bandwidth that's sitting behind you.
I like doing the dishes because of that, because you can see them getting done. But like, it's like taking the bin.
We like progress, don't we?
I like it. I love it, and I think that it's doing it now. Like, why would you want to spend 5 minutes writing a list of things to do when you could do half that list? You've got a phone, you've got emails. You could bang half that list out when you're there. Like, I drove from Edinburgh today, and it's 50 minutes, or North Berwick actually, was down there, and in that hour and 20 minutes, I did 8 phone calls, 2 payments over the phone. Like, that's a chunk of my list out the way today. Why not just do it now? Why are you leaving it?
Yeah, you're an efficient guy. What do you think sets your life up for that? What means that that's the way that you're wired?
Impatient. Yeah, just I want to get to the next level. How do I get there? Quick, that's my plan. How do I get there? How do I get there now? You know, so I don't know. I think I'm just a bit of I'm in a place where it's all moving. You're spinning plates, and I'm better at spinning plates. I just want to get things done. You know, so I to be honest, I wasn't even like that when I was playing rugby. You know, so I don't know where it's came from.
You've got passion now, though. I think it's so clear.
Yeah, I'm driven, and I want to help people. I can see the different charities and different things that we've been doing that, right, I can help people on the way here, and it's worth it, you know. I've seen kind of the proofs in the pudding that if you do it urgently, you get it done, you know.
You had a couple of shoulder niggles, didn't you, towards the end of your rugby days? How does that impact your training nowadays?
Just externally I can't really do anything, but that's self-inflicted as well. People could go, oh, I'm really sorry that your shoulders, well, it's my choice to play with detached ligaments in your shoulder, you know.
And jumping the line out and pushing the scrum and hit this ruck.
Probably all the guys that I've punched and whacked over the years probably thought he deserves it, you know, so all the red cards. But I still train every morning. I was in the gym at 5:45 this morning.
It's a huge part of your life, isn't it?
Love it in the morning. Just sets me personally up for the day and my routine for the day, you know, because the day for me will run away if I can't go and do a circuit or a hit. I've got the erg machines in there and ski ergs and all sorts, and it's great. Just
You're probably even fitter than when you were playing rugby.
Generally I'm fitter and lighter. 10 kilos lighter than I was when I was playing rugby. And
well, we're both good pals with Adam Ash. He's 15, 20 kilos lighter. He looks fantastic, and he's just much healthier.
Yeah, he looks good, you know. And what I said, I was saying this to someone that's like, if I'm going to be a dad, a businessman, and all these things, and I want to perform at the best I can in all these places, I've got to be as fit as possible, you know. If I want to do these acquisitions, high energy, which takes all that, I've got to be fit. But then if I'm having those days where it's long and you're going at it, I've got to have enough fitness to be then with my daughter and kids and son, you know. I've got to be there. I don't want to get back and I'm just blown out. I've got to be good for them. Then I've got the farm. I've got to be good for that, you know. So you've got to be fit and healthy. Like the business guys, you've seen them all now, like Zuckerberg and like what's the gentleman that has Amazon?
Bezos, yeah, they've all got jacked and lean now.
They're all lean because they know they've got to that feel good. They've got to be fit and ready, because if they're not, these fat businessmen guys, they don't really exist anymore, because there's a young guy coming up behind them who's
the next generation of entrepreneurs. It's like they've got the extra string to their bow, and by the time this episode comes out, I've just released an episode with TJ Power, and he speaks about DOSE, which stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins.
That's good.
And I know a big thing that you focus on in your morning is after that training session, you're full of dopamine from doing the hard stuff and getting after it at that time in the morning, and the endorphins of the training, and those carry through. They're not just in the 45 minutes when you're smashing the erg out, but they're actually throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I'm buzzing. Like the sheep sheds across the road from the gym that I built at the house, I'm skipping over there after the day. I'm probably the nicest person the sheep will ever meet, you know. So like,
is that when you're at your happiest?
Oh no, yeah, happiest. But it's great, you know. And I'll be speaking to people morning. How are you? And I think that then, when you're having business meetings and speaking to people, that really comes across if you're really positive and nice, and like people are like, well, I want to speak to him, you know, and I enjoyed having a meeting with him. And they've got good things to say to them, but if you come across really well, and that's just because you've made your morning better. Like, I went to bed at 1 o'clock this morning because I was doing emails, and I was up at 5:40. I felt terrible. Had a coffee, but once I got through that gym session, I was wired. I was ready to go. I'll probably crash out later, but
of course, but it was a necessary evil for the short time, and I'm big on protecting the sleep window and looking after it. But there are times where you just got to push through.
I had to. Like, I usually like my 8 hours sleep. I need it, you know. I'm terrible without sleep, but because I had to get up at that time as part of my routine, I had to get the emails done. Sometimes you just got, like we go back to, you just got to get it done. And I had those things to get done. I had to double check some VAT things, and and you just get through it. But would rather my 8 hours sleep. But that gym session has made me better for the rest of the day. It's helped
100%. And again, we were speaking about this, you, Thomas, and I, to kind of reintroduce us again. And he deeply understands how important that is. And so when you've been talking about that in public, people, they're almost like, oh, he trains at what time in the morning? And like, it's not the whole like 5 a.m. club and glorifying the hustle culture. It's actually what comes off the back of it. Yeah,
you're set for the day. For me personally, set for the day. Everything just stresses that things that could happen are not so stressful after it. You know, you won't react. I'm quite a reactive person. So if somebody says something or something doesn't go your way, a wee bit more, whatever, no problem. Like,
because you've ticked that box,
a guy gave me the fingers outside when I was parking the van. He was parking his van outside. I was parking the car, and you know me, I'm usually, I'd maybe jump back out the car, and I was like, whatever, cool, whatever, mate. And
you've had your training session. You've got more important fish to fry.
I've got to go and see Colin. You know, you know what I mean? I
don't want you getting huckled in the middle of Glasgow City Centre.
I don't need that in the middle of I don't need that this morning. So gym session.
Yeah, it's done you really well. You mentioned getting a coffee there on your pre-morning to get yourself firing, but I know that you got involved with was it the bean tin at Sterling County?
Yeah, about that. It was originally for the rugby club. They had a bit of land. I was doing it for as a sponsorship for them at the time, and then they financially couldn't afford it, and I'd bought all the stuff for the club to do it. I was going to go 50-50 and do it all for them, but they couldn't do it. But I'd bought everything, so I said, look, you've bought all Adam, the bit of land, but you need to do the drainage, you need to do the plumbing, the electricity, you go and do it. I said, right, I don't know anything about coffee, but I like coffee. I like containers. I know about containers. I think I've got an idea here. And there's a view of Wallace Monument there. So got the containers, converted them all, barista coffee, got people in what better than me that knew about coffee. Because I think that's one thing I'm kind of good at. Like, I don't know about coffee, get somebody in that's good at it. You know, got a guy in who's really good, barista trained, and ran it, did all the concepts, made it really different, angled it so it was looking at the Wallace Monument, and I loved it, just the building of it. Got Unorthodox Coffee in, who are really good coffee company, and bacon rolls. So
with like different names to them and stuff, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, the red card was obviously a red card for a reason.
Named after your favourite colour card.
Yeah, I just thought might as well. It's got a spice jam on it, might as well call it a red card. But the bacon roll's a funny one. I don't want to go too much into it, but I thought we'll do it really simple. Coffee's bacon roll. Everyone likes a good coffee and a good bacon roll. Went to like 8 different types of rolls. What's the best bacon roll? Soft, buttery, enough bacon on the roll. What do people like? People don't like white with tons of fat. Like it crispy around the edges. Well, 90% of them do. So we'll go for what 90% did. I tasted nine different rolls. That
was a good morning.
Yeah, it was a good morning. not good for the waistline. Went to different bacon companies, went to like Booker's, Costco's, all these different companies, Aldi's for bacon, obviously a watery, all of the tray. Went to Fallen Inch Farm and Sterling local butcher in farm. They do high quality stuff, a wee bit more expensive, 20p per slice, but never shrank, really salty. And that was our signature bacon rolls. So fast forward, the business then was on Visit Scotland 3 times. The World Cycling Tour was on. That guy, all the cyclists were down. I had got into cycling at the time, and when they were all down, I went to collect some money and speak to people. I think I was dropping off extra coffee cups, just popping in, and it was really busy. And there's a Belgian guy there, and I was speaking to him. And I was saying, you enjoying it here for the World Championships? He said, yeah. You enjoying it? And I said, yeah, well, I've just got the cycling. I was showing him my Rafa stuff.
The gear,
all the gear, no idea, electric gear changer, giant, all the stuff I'd bought. I could be in there, and he was like, that's really good. And the guy Ryan, who was managing it for me, said, hey, Sinky, can you come over here? I said, I'm speaking to this guy, he's on his holidays for the cycling. He went, no, you need to come over here. So I went, see that guy? And I was like, yeah, who's that? He's like 4.5 million followers. And he went, that's that guy you're speaking to. I went, oh, you're joking with me. He's like, that's the world champion cyclist. And I was like, fuck. And he's like, what are you talking to him about? And I went, I've been showing him pictures of my bike and my Rafa gear. And he was like, oh, for God. So I had to go back. I said, I really apologise. I'm really sorry. And he was like,
he probably quite enjoyed it.
He went, no, I actually said to me, it's really good that people your size are trying to cycle. And I was like, so it's like,
body positivity movement.
I was like, yeah, good. And so he then shared it. The power of speaking to people, social media. I said, can you share that in your story? Yeah, no problem. I'll tag it. All the other teams came down. Spain, Italy, you name it. Even, I didn't know Qatar had a cycling team. They were down. And they all came down, and then they would be sharing it on their stories. So all the fans are coming down. And then it was just going up and up and up in followers. It's like 5,000 followers now. And it was unbelievable. It just put us on the map. For me having that conversation about showing a guy my bike. But you never know who you're speaking to.
Yeah, it's the power of conversations. And I think if you look at a lot of what you've achieved, you always put yourself out there with the best intentions.
Yeah.
And you just see what happened. I've just released an episode with a lady called Kelsey Sherin, and she came back from Afghanistan, had PTSD, started like a munitions jewelry brand called Brass and Unity. And she ended up getting Kevin Hart to shout out her brand, and she ended up on the Ellen show. And she reminds me of you in the terms of she wasn't showing up being like, oh, by the way, can you shout out my brand? She was just having this enthusiasm for what she was doing, this almost innocent, purposeful energy. And people respond to that. Whereas I talk about in sales, people have commission breath. So if I went over to somebody, oh, come on, you come on my podcast and help me blow it up and share it to your story and stuff like that as well. People get a bit uneasy about that.
Yeah.
But when you have an innocent conversation and you're maybe telling the guy about, oh, we're doing this with the coffee and we're doing this with the bacon rolls, and then you find out that, oh, he's actually got potential leverage, you say, oh, would you mind doing it? It came from a better place than necessarily if you're just approaching for the pure reach or the pure benefit.
Yeah. It's going back to kind of you're extracting something out of them and you're like, it's not really authentic, whereas you just asked me and we're having a chat anyway, why not? So I think you're right. And but going back, I really enjoyed it. It was different, and I wanted just a complete different thing away from self-storage and removals. And it was nice going down there, positive, everyone enjoying themselves, having a coffee, enjoying the view, sitting on their dog. I'd often chat to people. I do all my meetings. I still do all my meetings down there. I meet with people, and it's just a different space. People, I love my coffee, but people are just, that's their happy place. They're chilled out. You're getting them at their best. Whereas in removals, you were getting them at their worst because of stress. So different. So yeah, different but good. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
A wee bit of variety for you.
Yeah, I proved that I could do it. And I think a big thing to me is I wouldn't say I'm a removals man, in terms that I soon realised I like removals, but I don't like it that much. I like business. So, and I like seeing things come to light and developing it. So I realised when I building these self-storage places, with a bare bit of land with nothing on it, ground sitting there for 10 years, right, I could do that, flatten that out, put that fences, put that there, branding will go there, containers will go there, do my research in the area. I like building stuff. The containers. People thought I was just going to put like a wee rubbish van there. It was more than just a van. It was containers. I was whiskey barrels were painted flamingo pink with flamingos in the front of them. All these different things. I was just like enjoying it, and then I knew that was Instagrammable, and like just seeing something come to light and create it and see it go. I really get an enjoyment out of that. Then seeing people enjoy it themselves. So yeah, different.
Yeah, I love it, mate. And one of the things I want to ask you is, we're both in our early 30s. Your life's radically different from when you finished playing rugby just over 8-9 years ago. What would success look like by the time you're 40?
Depends. Success by the time I'm 40 would be for my kids to have the same values that I've got. For every kid in Scotland to have the opportunity to pick a rugby ball up and look back and enjoy every day, and enjoyed every day and got the most out of every day you could. That would be success for me by the time I'm 40. It's not all about the money. Money's good, but if I can help a lot of people on the way and give people the opportunities, or at least put them in the door to have the opportunities I have, that'd be success for me.
Yeah, super noble goals, mate.
Yeah, and it's not just to be like, just saying that. It's like I really do want that to happen, and I want to develop a good businesses and push them on, but I want to bring everybody up around me at the same time. I think that's important. I don't want to push people down. I want to bring them up with me. I want to see people do well as well. Like, I think we're quite bad in the UK for being negative, and I think when people get successful, people then just try to bring them down. I think you should be bringing everybody up with you and everybody around you, not pushing them down. Like you can do it. I did it. You can do it as well.
Yeah, I love that mindset, and certainly one of the big aims of the podcast is to share stories like yours and your perspectives and get people excited about what they could go and achieve in their space too.
Yeah, I think anybody can do it, and if you just go and speak to people and just get that drive and determination, and then if it doesn't happen the first time, it might happen the 20th time or 21st time, and it didn't happen for me straight away. When I did the kitchen contract, I knocked 70 industrial doors. It was the 71st, 72nd one I did. That guy still gave a kitchen contract. I didn't have the kitchens. I wouldn't have the money to buy the 2 or 3 vans and so on. But if I hadn't kept knocking and kept going, that determination, then where would I be now?
Different situation.
You've got to keep going, and you've got to keep giving it a bash and never give up. Or if you do think you feel giving up, then speak to someone or reach out to someone. There'll be a lot of people that will give you advice, and just, yeah, my big thing is just never give up. Just don't give in.
Yeah, you're certainly not doing that at all, mate. And it's been amazing to hear about it and amazing to watch from afar. And I'm sure we'll get to do lots more together again in the future. If people want to continue the conversation with you and reach out to you, where should they head towards?
Head on to LinkedIn. I'm on there most of the time, and just reach out. And if you've got any questions, and I can help them. I might not have all the answers, but maybe I'll have the answer that you need. And if I don't, I might have somebody that could give you that answer. So I'm more than happy to help anybody,
Amazing, Adam. That'll be linked in the show notes. Thank you to you, mate, and thank you to the listener. I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very soon.